The title of the presentation is The Transformative Power of Expressive Writing. I was a public educator in the middle and high school classroom for a long time. Now I'm a writer, a mentor, and I educate in different ways. I facilitate creative writing and healing workshops. And so this will be, like I said, an interactive presentation, and I start many of my workshops off with this quote, which is, "Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's our birthright, and it's for all of us." And that's by Rick Rubin. He is a musical producer, and he wrote a book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And my workshops are not just for writers, they're for anyone. And I believe that, that's for some. I believe that creativity is something that we do on a day-to-day basis. We create by just making choices. So a little about my journey. I just put like sort of a bio up, but I'll just speak. You can read it if you like. I'm a founder and creator of Scribbles of Strength, which is a program that does creative writing and healing workshops. And I've been doing that for about 1.5 years. I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance addiction. I'm a survivor of sex trafficking, domestic violence, childhood sexual abuse, and other traumas. And writing is what kept me alive. Writing literally got me out of the lifestyle. It gave me a sense of purpose. When I was a young girl, my sister passed away, and that was when I started writing to survive. And there was a lot of neglect and abuse in my home. And I would write letters. This is my own personal journey to my higher power then. And that continued through my life. And during the darkest times of my life, I would just stay connected through the written word. And I didn't know that that was something that was keeping me fulfilled, giving me a sense of purpose, giving me a way to express how I felt, giving me a form to take all the rage or pain, all the woundedness that was inside me, and take it outside my body and put it somewhere, to share it in some way. And now I'm an MFA student studying creative writing at Lenore Ryan University. I'll get my graduate certificate in narrative healthcare this term. I'm a trained facilitator for Ending the Game curriculum, which is a coercion resilience program that helps victims of sex trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation. I facilitate groups to help women stay out of that lifestyle. I'll also be a certified peer support specialist this summer. And if anyone has any questions for me, please, by all means, you can put them in the chat or raise your hand. And someone's saying there's feedback. Is it on my end? No. Okay.
No, I don't think so. Is anybody else getting feedback?
No. Okay. And I also am an author. I have a website on Substack called No Pain Wasted, and I just believe that our pain is something that helps, that makes us who we are, because it's something we all experience. Expressive writing is something that you can do, and I'm going to put 2 links in the chat, actually. After I finish talking about it, I think would be best. Expressive writing was first developed in the late 1980s by psychologist James Benebaker, and it's been thoroughly researched since then. It's so simple that you would think they've done all this research on this. A person basically writes for 15 to 20 minutes about their deepest thoughts and feelings about a traumatic experience for 4 days in a row. That's the initial model. And the writing is kept confidential. People who engaged in this practice showed improved emotional, physiological, and cognitive benefits on measurable scales. For example, their immune system functions went up. They had reduced stress and anxiety. Their blood pressure improved. Their PTSD symptoms improved. All of the things I listed there. They have done studies with people with chronic illnesses, all kinds of back pain, cancer, heart disease, and people have shown improved outcomes just from writing about their trauma in private. Now, the key is to write about how you felt and how you thought about it while you experienced it for just 15 minutes at a time. And the philosophy is that you are holding that inside of yourself like a secret. So they did these studies with people that were taking lie detector tests and holding the secret of their lies actually caused more stress than sharing the lie or sharing the secret. And as soon as they shared the secret, even if it convicted them of a crime, their blood pressure went down. Their other faculties improved. And so the idea is that once we are able to release our stress, our body can function better. That's the basic premise. So I'm going to put two links in the chat for ways you can do this at home because it's an ongoing practice. And one is just a tip sheet. I'm going to have to stop sharing my screen for just a minute so I can get those for you. One is a tip sheet put out by a heart center, the Ted Rogers Research Center. I'm putting that in right now. And it's just a one-page tip sheet. It'll tell you how to do the expressive writing and ways you can do it at home, gives you little prompts. I have the sheet right here, like what I fear most is when the doctor said X. And then you just write. You don't edit yourself. You don't worry about grammar and spelling and punctuation. You just write. And then you don't have to share it. You can burn it. It doesn't matter. You just write. And the other is a more of a research-based article that gives a little more information. It's 5 or 6 pages long, but it's really got a lot of good information in it. And it does talk specifically about cancer treatment. And I thought that might be interesting, and ways they've used it with other specific treatments. And narrative healthcare just is there we go, the blending of narrative and medicine. And that's what I'm studying, basically, just the blending of the two, like therapy and narrative or therapy and storytelling. Doctors take that certification as well, so they can become more patient-centered. So I'm not a doctor, but I'm just doing it to be on more of the therapeutic side. So in addition to expressive writing, other forms of writing have also shown to have a beneficial effect. Writing poetry, even, I'm just going to say this, even if it's crappy, Like, I mean, writing, just writing, you don't have to be publishing your work to be getting the benefit. It's just getting it on the paper. Writing in community, they have found that when you get affirmed for your writing, meaning like someone gives you feedback and you share it in a writing group, that's what I do with Scribbles of Strength. It alleviates so much because someone says, I heard you, I see you, I feel you. And that has benefits. Narrative therapy, which would be, writing your story or rewriting your story. Somatic writing, which is what we're going to do today, is body writing. Daily gratitude journaling and affirmations, which is the cornerstone of my life. Really also has a huge beneficial effect. And that is pretty much all I had to say in terms of history background before we get into the interactive piece of the presentation. So does anyone have questions before I get you all started? Because I want to give you time to practice. And I can't see everyone yet, but I'm looking. No, we're good. We're good. Okay. So I'm going to say, it says your turn, somatic writing prompt. Um, Usually when I do a workshop, it's 2 or more hours. I do a meditation at some point, and I do have everyone introduce themselves with some sort of prompt like, name 3 things you adore about yourself, or, 3 things that you've really tackled well this week. But given the time frame, I think we're just going to start out writing. But I would like to take a few deep breaths instead of do a full meditation. So if everyone is okay with that, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, great. If you're not, that's fine. Just focus on a spot in the room and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth for a few like really good centering breaths. And somatic writing is when you tune into your body and you notice the sensations that come up in your body. And typically, there's different ways to do this, but typically, you're going to choose an area of your body that is speaking to you. By speaking to you, that can mean it hurts. It can mean it feels really good. It can mean you feel it has something to say to you. Um, it can be a place in your body you're thankful for. It could be a place in your body you're angry at or you dislike. I recently did this experience and I wrote about that lower part of my belly that's never been the same since I had my son, right? It just changed and never went back to the belly it was before. And I found when I wrote from the perspective of that belly, it is actually the place in my body that has the least amount of tension. And it's the place I'm always like, why does it gotta look like that? I'm always like feeling negatively about it. but it's just hanging out there, doing its thing, like being at peace. And so I learned a lot about myself and had an appreciation for my body by doing this exercise. So we're going to write for five. I said seven, but there's a lot of us here, and I want people that want to be able to share. So let's see what time it is. Let's do 5 minutes. Um, Six, so you can do 1 minute to really sense into your body. Choose a place on your body where you can write from the perspective or point of view from that part of your body. And then keep writing. Don't edit. So if you've got a voice that's like, these words are not good, tell that part to go away. If you get stuck, you can list or write the same sentence or word over and over. Just keep going. You can turn your screen off or on. Just stay muted, and I'll give you a 1 minute warning. So if you were writing from your finger, you'd be like, oh, you would actually pretend you're that finger. Or you can write to the finger if that's too hard to imagine. You could say, dear finger, I love you. You always point at things. It can be so simple. So simple. Any questions before we get started? All right, time begins now. Take about 1 minute. Finish up where you are, just the kind of the line you're at, even if you're not done. And I'm going to stop sharing. Well, actually, usually I go over safe space guidelines when I do a workshop, and I did come up with some sort of abbreviated ones for our group. And I feel like it's important to just go over a few of those. Because I'm going to ask for volunteers, and I'll share first just to break the ice. But I always go over safe space guidelines when I do a workshop. I just want to make sure that we are responsible for ourselves. So if you need to take a break, like if someone shares something or you're overwhelmed, sometimes when you do expressive writing too, you feel negative before you feel positive. Like you delve into those hard feelings before you get the positive benefits. You can always stop. Like if you're writing about trauma and you're starting to feel traumatized, stop. Don't push yourself so that you're feeling re-traumatized. If someone shares something in one of my workshops that's upsetting, you can always take a break. You can turn your screen off and take care of yourself without having to tell everyone. But just remember, the group is responsible for holding information as confidential and keeping the space safe and supportive. Participants will be sharing creative work, but also lived experience, thoughts, feelings, and personal opinions. We will hold our judgments and advice within ourselves because there will be an opportunity to affirm each other. And we're writing for healing purposes. Therefore, we are not critiquing each other's writing skills. So we're not saying like, your writing didn't sound very poetic. We're not like critiquing each other's writing skills, the sentence structure, as we would at a typical writing workshop. We're naming the positive and having regard for the courage it took to get to paper in the first place. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. What we will do is I'll take volunteers that like to share. I'll share the one I wrote about my lower belly just because I brought it up. And then we'll take a few volunteers to affirm the person's work. So you want to either name a few things you heard, just repeating, like, I heard this in your work. Things you loved, or things that resonated with you, things that really made you feel. And that's it. That's all we do. Like, I see you, I feel you, I hear you. And that's all you're doing is affirming that the person, shared. So I'll read mine, and then you all can read yours. So this is my lower belly speaking to me. I think they call it a fupa, but I don't call it that. I don't know. So I called it my lower belly. It's ironic. I am the feature most criticized on your body, Emily, especially as I rest here perfectly at ease, cradled by your pelvic bones, your meaty thighs. Above me is a hornet's nest of tension, thick brambles of anxiety, stress, and pain. Below me, tender cords of dull exhaustion. Yet I am joyful, calm, and warm, intuitive, expansive, authentic, alive. You have referred to me as a deflated tire tube hanging about your waist. You have ridiculed the centimeter thick stretch marks that grace my surface like warrior's paint. You have held onto comments made by men that don't appreciate me and shy away when someone touches me. I was born when your son was created inside you. Happy little Buddha belly. It's a shame, really, for you, Emily, who owns so much, to be so disconnected from this body as of late. You have tuned into the aches and pains and have been forgetting the bliss and the beauty. You have been out of balance. You have been missing your gratitude practice some mornings. You have been looking at what's lacking. I'm here for you, full of love and light and power. All you have to do is send in to me. Happy little Buddha belly. And if you feel like you want to affirm or say something, you just say something you heard, something you liked, something you that resonated with you.